start with another CC playthrough. So this one is Garganta del Muerto, and it's just same as with all the other courses. This is the first time I'm seeing it. It won't be the only time I play it, and you'll tend to find that the first few holes might go a little bit slowly because I'll see bits and comment on it, but those same things tend to pop up again and again, so chances are we'll play through the following holes a little bit quicker. What else? Yeah, not much. We'll get on with it. I don't know who the designer of this one is. I think it's someone's first published, maybe. So hopefully some of the feedback here can get you something useful. It's saying it's playing hardest, which interests me, because for CC we're looking on something kind of on the easier side of things. That could just be because, well, we'll wait and see. We'll find that out for ourselves. So yeah, there'll be a couple of we play through each one a couple of times, but a lot of the stuff I'll see first time round will kind of be stuff that I see again. There won't be that much new. It'll just be seeing how it plays on different pins. Okay. Okay, shortish par 4. Green looks interesting. I'm liking the little half tiers and slopes. I think the planting could be done with a little bit more care. There's a lot of barren trees and things. So I like that you've clumped your planting together, but this does look a little bit like it's just multi-plant, and I don't really understand why these are here, if I'm honest. I think these need to be spread out a little bit. It just looks... I don't think this is necessarily your fault, but the way they're all exactly the same height, pretty much, and just layered on the land doesn't look the most natural. And then we've got some back here that are flowering, so why? I guess they're closer to water. And then we've got some really flowering plants here. It doesn't really seem like the planting has that much, I wouldn't say logic behind it, but because I get that you're by water, therefore stuff is flowering, and here's drier, so no. It just goes very quickly from one to the other. No, I like what you've done with the fence. Sculpting there feels a little bit harsh. The rocks aren't really doing that much for me. Lighting is good. Step lighting can often be. I feel like this sculpting here is... you'll just get better at this with time. It looks pretty harsh again, and actually the main thing I think you're finding is that all of it is just dead flat as a line. I'd rather see kind of more gradual rises and falls in the rock terrain, kind of like you got here. You see, like this is going up a little bit and then down, and you've got gradual falls, whereas this is kind of one straight line and then pretty much one straight line up here. I'd try to work with that a little bit more. In terms of the hole design, how close does the fairway start? We've got a lot of fairway to work towards, and a lot of OB. Okay. But I like the strategy on this one. I mean, the green is angled at such a way that I really probably want to be coming in from there. If not, I guess I could potentially try to drive up there. I think the bunker sculpting, you will hear me say this a lot in this contest, the sculpting inside the bunker is okay. The sculpting outside of the bunker is not so good. You'd want to be having this about 4 or 5 feet up, have a high side and a low side. If you look at, so that the bunker's basically facing back at you off the tee, kind of imagine it angled at almost 45 degrees towards you. Because it's dead flat and it makes it really awkward, and that's what gives it that kind of bathtubby nature. Same with this one. In fact, both, yeah, you can see it more clearly with this one, how it's kind of all falling in on itself. I think if you had this land down about 5 feet, it would kind of make sense as well, because you could then maybe wrap the fairway out a little bit more here. I think that would be one thing I'd look at, and I suspect that's going to be a common theme. Okay, with this wind, we can't go anywhere near it. I want to be on the right, but I'm going to hedge my bets with the OB. We're uphill as well, so Just somewhere down the right hand side is fine with me. And then we should have a full wedge in. I like this pin position. I like that if I've gone left, I'm now taking on that little runoff more. Didn't want the fast, but maybe we'll be okay. Yeah. I think that's a solid opening hole. Again, I think my main things are visual and the bunkers. Green looks good. There we go. So I think one of the things you find with step is you've really got to vary up the colouring, and I understand your decision to go with the dead trees is kind of like a main feature. Problem is you've got red rock, red rocks. Though that kind of rock, there's no colour other than the rough texture. Again, I'm not really sure we need all of these rocks. It all just looks a bit... I get that it's kind of planting around the hole, but it looks like we've got this natural bit of land that happens to be a perfect fairway site, and then it feels very man-made, this part. I'd like to see it blending in a little bit more. These little humps I don't think you need them. Like, the driver zone is tight enough. If I'm hitting driver down here and I hit that neck at CC level, I think that's fine. Yeah, because also I didn't really feel there's not a massive way to avoid that. This green is pretty big compared to the first one. I think green sizes are traditionally something we tend to see with newer designers, and was myself included. It's definitely one of the bits of feedback I got when I first started designing, was try to have an idea in your head of what a small green looks like, what a large green looks like, etc. Now, 163 is a nice green speed. I would suggest that you pick something either a little bit faster or a little bit lower, mainly because if we set the greens at fast, if this were to get on tour, the fast is 164, so there's only a tiny bit of difference there. If you were to set it at 157, then there's a bit more of a difference in how it plays, or 174. Usually try to pick something between 164 and 187, or 164 and 144, but tending towards the upper ranges, because actually very fast doesn't play very, very fast. I feel we've had this tee shot before with the fence here. It's not a bad thing. We've just seen it already. Yeah, this sculpting is, you will get better at that. It's just very harsh, sharp lines, whereas this bit's better. Like the little pockmarked stuff, I think you can do a little bit more with that, work in, kind of come up with some little diagonal, almost ravines and indentations, and yeah, it looks fine from the tee, but when you see it there, it's not so good. Yeah, bunkers, same thing. I mean, this one's better. You've got a back end there. I'd still just raise up this bit a little bit more. This one definitely needs that bit going. But these ones are better very much than the first hole, so well done, clearly working on that. This planting I like a lot more. It feels a lot more... it fits. It's not overpowering. I can still... I mean, I'd still like to see more of the fairway. But it's a minor one. Let's pull up the overhead. Yeah, I mean, I like the strategy. Oh, it's par 4. This is about as long as you can push a par 4 at CC. But that's alright. Yeah, this into a strong wind with this pin is going to be tricky. Okay, 206 up 21. I think your first two greens were really good because they had subtle slopes, as well as some like nice little dips and things. I'd have liked to see, you see you've got this kind of little bit of a tier, front tier here. All well and good, but I try to tie it into the land a little bit more. So kind of bring that slope through here or lower the land down this bit a little bit. Again, that's something you will get with practice and just seeing how other people do it. I'd like to see the land that is near the pin. It looked quite flat. But I'm enjoying this so far. I think I've got the same comments about planting. Yeah, so this is all pretty much dead flat, which I don't know, I think you can do a bit more with that. I do understand that it's a long par 4 and therefore, but you see how that putt should have been a 2 putt, and I'm delighted with making a 4. But this run of holes is really nice. I think the flow of holes is good. The whole designs are solid. Like, definitely the ideas are nice. I like that this is a long, thin green. Maybe a little too long for my liking, but I see the idea. I think greens, and I'd also look at thinking about your pins and how you've set them up. So we've just had a really long par 4 where the green's tucked back right. We've now got a relatively long par 3 with the green tucked back right. I try to say to myself when I'm planning, I tend to note down, this is not a must, but I will go through and do holes 1 to 18, where's each pin, and then try to vary them around that. So if I know that this is a long 4, I'll make sure that the next pin's a nice, more gentle one. That way you don't just feel like you're being hammered on one pin set. But, I mean, it's a 6 iron, it's not that bad. Try and hit it fast, and we do. So the wind should bring it in a little bit. Yeah, I think I'd like to see. Yeah, this is more the sort of sloping I'd have liked on the previous hole. I would rather see you not doing it by what feels like putting a fuzzy brush under and just bumping up this bit, because everything just kind of falls away from that pin, and you don't really see that many pins in real life where they're crowned, is what the term would be. I might have hit that one too hard. Yeah, a little bit. Just because it doesn't really, when you get those sorts of pins, there's not really, if you're coming from a long way away, there's not really a safe leave. There's no, like, if you're missing slightly long, or you're going further along, you have to be perfect. Yeah, I think this planting, I feel like this is multi-plant. I'd love to see some colour in here. Just because it's all very two-tone, it's green or red. And I think the whole design's been good though. Okay, we've got another par 4, longer par 4. I mean, maybe a nitpicky one. I think I would like to see that if we started with 2 short 4s and then we've gone to 2 longer 4s, I'd like to have seen those spread out a little bit. Maybe this kind of length could have been hole 2, and then hole 5 where we're at now could have been one of the shorter ones. But nah, it's fine. Again, bunker's better, and I like, here we go, I can tell you're getting better as we go, because this one, the land ties in here. I think that slope there on the fairway could have been smoothed out a little bit more. You'd want to keep this one about the same because it needs to sit up a bit, but then smooth this one out, and that's by taking a fuzzy brush on flatten, clicking once, moving down, clicking, clicking, and again you'll get better in time. And I think the fairway's actually pretty pinched. I think this would be a driver hole where you'd rather have pro clubs than masters. Might try and just low down loft it and see what happens. Well, we would have run out, but turns out we're okay. That's a good driving hole though, in terms of driver is the club that separates you there. Yeah, we'd seen this on previous holes. I think your transitions, they are the least of my worries. There'll be some judges who get hung up on this in potentially different contests. It will look a lot neater if you go just draw a smooth transition round here. It looks, because there's kind of no point in this fairway being here. It'll also play better as well because you're giving me a little bit extra spot where I can land and roll on. Not really necessary with this length of hole, but I think it could help. Go a little. we're okay. Tiny little break by the hole. I'll come back in. Breaks our string of threes. But yeah, enjoying this. I think level of difficulty is fine. I'm not quite sure why it's been seen as playing as hardest. Again, I'd love... it needs more stuff. Okay, this is a toughie. We've now got, on another long par 3, we've got the pin at the back, so I think that critique is becoming more and more relevant. But hey, yeah, just vary your pin positions a little bit more. And we've overread that one. Always going to be the case. That's a solid long 3. And I like the simple tier that you can use there. Okay, we now have back-to-back 5s. Nice. Let's see where this takes us. I understand why it's there. I would lose the fence. I think visually it's cluttering it up a little bit. I also think I'd kind of like you to make me without the fence. I'll feel the gorge being there a little bit more. I would also definitely lose this bunker and this little knob here. I think you've got a really big hazard in that if I'm going too far right, I am all the way down there. And I get that that's probably meant to be OB. Okay, yeah, but we can't do it's a shame that we can't do internal out of bounds, because I get what you're going for. I'm not going to penalise you for that. I get how you want this to play. I would like to see you bring the fairway all the way up here. This down here is your best hazard. Don't kind of give me a bunker that will save me, and I just don't understand what this is. As it is, I can now just easily play kind of over here. I say easily, but I can play over here and I'm not having to challenge your best hazard on the hole. I just feel that's a bit of a shame. Okay, another good green. I like the subtle slopes. Good. I think good green size here. I'd like to see these shapes all just a little bit smoother. It's kind of like, I don't really understand why this little appendage is here other than wrapping around the bunker. Probably try to make it one smooth curve around there and under, same sort of thing. See if we can get, nah, didn't get fast, but we'll be on and putting something. Yeah, I mean, behind the green you'll see again, and when you come back to this at kind of later date, when you've gotten better with the tools, you'll see that this sculpting is just a little harsh. It just gets better with time and practice. Nah, I didn't hit it. Okay, so we've now got the second of our back-to-back par 5s, and back-to-back par 5s are always tricky, because it's how do you make them play different, and not have you feeling like you've just hit a 2-wood into... I mean, bear in mind you also had a long 3 beforehand, and I remember when I did Cayuma Bay I was thinking about similar things. 8 is a 5, 9 is a 5, 10 is a long par 3, and you're actually potentially hitting 2-wood into all of them. So how do you make that approach shot different each time? And do feel free to go and check that out to have a little look. The sculpting on this side, again, I get that it's a hazard. I think it's a touch punitive. I mean, really, with this elevation change, I'm worried about that bunker anyway. So if I'm hitting a driver down here, I don't want a wonky bounce for no particular reason. I think bunker sculpting has gone away from me a touch here. That you see how it's kind of blending into the fairway, and it's just really and this bunker is just altogether too little, which seems like an odd critique because it takes up quite a lot of space. What I mean is it's too thin, which means that you can't really sculpt the insides of it, and yeah, and I think if you ever try to hit a shot out of it, you'll probably notice that. Well, we only live once. Let's go down here somewhere. Yeah, and I'm not loving the way the land rises into the bunker. I know that it's helped me here, but I think that could be done more smoothly. I think this fairway could have just all used a bit of smoothing out. It also doesn't really fit with your other ones in that I know we've had those random humps and bumps I've commented on one previous hole, but this one just feels very undulating, kind of out of nowhere. And does the approach feel different? Yeah, I think you've accomplished kind of back-to-back par 5s feeling not samey. But I would have liked to have seen, I think a par 5 is a great chance for you to use proper risk reward. Like, can you really threaten a tee shot or an approach shot? And you had that valley on the previous one. I think you could have really used that to its utmost effect and banked the green right against it. Okay, we've got some greenery to look at, and I think part of the problem you've got here is the greenery now looks really out of place because I haven't seen any of it before. And we have some water, and I guess we're coming back to the clubhouse, and yeah, this almost feels like a completely different course with all the planting and what have you. I'm glad that you've put it in because it needed it, but I think the course needed to be a bit more lush pretty much everywhere. Okay, we're back to kind of undulating fairways. I don't think this course really needed it. Try to avoid a little hollow. I'm all for undulating fairways. I like the fact that I'm thinking off the fairway and kind of being more precise with where I land it. I'm not sure it's that this is the course to do it. Hang on. There we go. And that's not to say just because something isn't typically done, don't do it. But I think if you're going to go undulating fairways, you've got to go the whole hog. Kind of, it's got to be on every hole that they're undulating, and they've got to be big slopes. And they're also harder to do than people tend to think, because you can't just throw little humps and bumps pretty much everywhere. Oh, this front line's gone well. I do like the water to break it up, and I'd probably have taken some of these trees and sunk them down to make kind of proper bushes. I think that's kind of what you're missing a little bit. You're missing the undergrowth. Okay, we've got split fairway. We've gone back to bigger green. This one feels maybe a touch too big. I'd probably lop off a third. Okay, so if I've got a split fairway, I'm kind of always wondering, well, why and what's the options? I think if you tilted the green round maybe a bit more on that angle, then I'd be tempted to use this fairway to get to a back pin, but I kind of feel like even if I'm hitting here, I'm still hitting over that bunker, and if I'm hitting here, I'm still hitting over that bunker, so I might as well go down here. Whereas if I'm going up to here, yeah, I'm probably not going to run out, but I might. Whereas, yeah, I think I'd have tried to tilt your green a little bit more, make this maybe the riskier play, and think about, well, what is my ideal angle coming in at? Would it be this one? And then how do I defend that more heavily? As it is with this wind, I'm not going up there. And I kind of think also, if I go slightly to the right, this slope is going to bounce me back in anyway, so I've got more margin for error on this one. Bounce me too far. Shows what I know. Yeah, this green's too big, I think, for the slopes that you've got on it. You do have some big ones down there. I think, unless you've got a pin right in there, and even then it's going to feel pretty distinct, I'd probably just cut it around here. Oh, got it very fast. Always get one around. Right. See if we can make an up and down from here. In fairness, I think that one was me. Gonna need to hole apart. I've not played this hole well. This bunker at the back right feels a little bit forced. I can see you've tried to build in a hill, but it's that you see how this hill here and this bunker fit? They make sense because the hill's already here and makes sense with the land around it. Here you've kind of had to build a hill and then drop it down for these tees, and it doesn't really fit. I don't really think the bunker's doing that much anyway, I've just lost it. Make it a runoff instead, like drop the land down, because that would make more sense with where the tee's going. Okay, we have a slopey putt. That's never high enough. When we drop a shot. That is all my own doing. Two very poor tempos. Okay, long par 4. This fairway feels utterly unnecessary. And we kind of... Okay, we've now got cacti, which we haven't had before. Again, they kind of feel a little out of place. And you don't necessarily want to do the same planting everywhere, but what is this fairway for? The layup there is harder than to any of the other fairways. I would definitely lose this, but it looks really unnatural and doesn't. It just looks separate to the rest of this entire hole. I also don't think you need a bunker there. It's kind of in a weird spot, and it's not. It's blocking your sight line a bit. Oh, you can properly bomb one down there. Okay, 10 mile an hour wind. Again, I think, just load up, fly over. You've got this really good hazard here. Don't put a bunker next to it. Not always don't. There have been times when I've put a bunker next to a cliff, but I think it's got to really add something visually or in terms of playability to warrant doing it. I don't think that one does. Okay, shorter par 4. I like this. I like this design in terms of how it kind of wraps around. I don't necessarily love the fairway coming back to the green. I'd have probably tried to do kind of come in more sideways. I'll load up the overhead. Yeah, I'd like to have seen the fairway coming up like here a little bit more. And then if you do a diagonal tee shot like this, you've got more and more risk the further you go. So as is, this one's drivable. Question with drivable fours for me is always, why would I not go for it? Well, the obvious is the OB, and that's a great hazard. So again, I don't really get why you've given me a bunker. Leave it all OB, like make it literally all or... If I'm driving the green, that's all or nothing. If I'm going to here, that's and again, this bunker as well, like, I'd quite like it if it was more diagonal. That gives me more options whilst seeming more natural, really. Because if it's purely diagonal around here and curving round, I can hit, say, 1 iron to here, or I can be a bit more risky and hit 2 wood to here, or even hit driver and go a little bit long, and maybe you take this bunker and you put it here, so that I'm thinking, well, if I'm taking driver, I've really got to go at the green. If not, I've got to be disciplined and play back. Or I can try to hit the drive for the green. I think this bunker I'd have put on the other side, and then I'd maybe consider, well, what's our full wedge yardage in? Well, it's about there. And can I threaten that with a hazard as well? I don't know. I like that you have given... I mean, today this is not a drive for the green at all. But normally, normal wind, I think it would be. Yeah, I don't love that bunker. We're just going to try and leave a wedge in. But I think this whole design's good. I think it's a really nice risk-reward hole. It's executed well. There's a couple of things I would have changed, but those are kind of personal preference, although I think it would have improved the strategy a little bit more. But I like that that's... I feel there I've been rewarded for thinking through how I was playing that hole, which I really appreciate. I'm glad you've gone for a shorter par 3. This one I think sits really nicely. Not sure about the bridge across the bunker, but I like the setting for this hole a lot. I like that we're going down. I like that for the first... feels like for the first time we're finding a little bowl amongst the kind of hills and what have you. I will say this, I think the flow of your holes have been really good. I haven't ever felt really that I'm playing the same stretch of holes again and again, which is easy to do. 153, yeah, I think this is probably it. Not with the slow, it isn't. Get lucky. Thank you. Yeah, the cacti aren't doing it for me. Yeah, I don't know. Oh, I thought that would just squeak in. That's a tough pin position up on that tier. Definitely. I'm sure you've got some others that are friendlier. Oh wow. Now the only thing I can really see is the bridge, which I don't think is what you want me to see. I think you want me to be looking at the hole. Cacti again, and the grasses and rocks just feel a little bit... Oh, where are we going? They just feel a little bit random. They're not kind of, I guess, clumped like we would normally see other bits of planting, grasses, bushes, kind of around them. But okay, so par 5, stroke index 4. Why is this stroke 4? Well, the landing zone is super tight. Feel like we could have joined a few of these fairways up. I don't know, I think there have been a couple of holes here that felt a little bit like island hopping, which it feels like it should provide more options, and often it kind of just makes the options all or nothing. Probably in that bunker, aren't I? I suspect this is playing such a high stroke index principally because of the drive. Alright, well we can't get there. 260, up 44. The green I think again is on the big side. I'd have liked to see this one smaller, particularly if you think about it's a par 5. Let's say I am hitting 2 wood in. Well, give me a tough target to hit. But I think the general slopes on the green's been good. Okay, let's just try and get over to there. Well, we're not going that far, so... just about. Now sit. Thank you. Is there anything I'd have changed about? I think the other thing I feel with this hole is I don't know to what extent I had, if that was that's where I was landing driver. If I don't choose to take on that shot, what other option do I have? That's a smaller landing area, that's tiny. Maybe 2 wood, but even then I'm taking on the ravine. I kind of feel like I was a bit forced into that tee shot. Whereas, had you made all of this fairway, give me if I want to take 2 wood down here, great. Or think if it's pro clubs in into the wind, I think you might suffer a little bit on this tee shot. I'd like to see just if I choose not to take on a certain shot, what's my bailout that makes life harder for me in the long run? In this case, playing safe off the tee would simply mean it takes out of going for the green in 2, and I'd be playing 2 wood, 1 iron, pitch, which is kind of what we did. We just ended up in the heavy rough, and we've done the same. I think if you think of your holes that you're designing as well as kind of the route you expect the player to take, as well as that, think about, well, what's the easy way to make bogey? Or on par 5's the easy way to make par. Like if you were just plodding around and taking the easy option on offer to you every time, how would you do that? Yeah, the bunker hills here, the bunkering on this hole I think needed redoing. I like that we see the clubhouse and kind of you get a view coming home already. That's really cool. I like that we've got an island green. I think maybe on a long par 4, but then we are downhill quite a bit. Long par 4 I usually like an apron, but I think I can get behind this one. I was about to say I've just profited from it, but it kind of feels like the cart path has come at preference for steel fairway here. So again, if I didn't have master clubs and I can't quite make that carry, I'm hitting pro clubs and I'm hitting to a really tight area into the wind. I think this fairway really needs to come out and give me more space. Typically, the big carry here should be tighter and the small carry should be wider. I think there's just been a couple of times where the landing zones you've possibly just because you've never played this with wind, because in the designer it's hard to. You can do it, but it's hard to. Or because you're playing with master clubs and not necessarily figuring where the other options are. I think it would be nice to see you thinking a bit more about what offers and options am I giving the guy who doesn't want to take something on. Okay, we got the fast, but yeah, it's not a great shot. Tough pin here. Oh, nearly. Planting here is good. Again, if we just had a little bit more colour, it would all just be kind of working for me a bit more. And we make a par. I think you're getting my main thoughts from the playthrough. I think the level's about right. It would be a low scoring round on CCA, but it would be good. And I think you've seen that there is danger when you get it wrong. I think laying back is probably the play here. But I've got wind behind, so I don't love the ziggy-zaggy cart path and fairway here. That feels like something we just wouldn't have done. Like we'd just have a straight line. I think if you made this fairway a little bit more accommodating, I'd go for it. And that's not a knock, that's just, I think you've designed it in such a way that makes me think, actually, you know what, that risk is too much for me. But here, I've got that risky play, but you've also given me a load of different safer plays. So here, I quite like the position of this bunker as well. Don't mind this one so much. To be honest, this fairway's pointless because if I'm landing there, I'm going in the bunker. I'd almost be tempted to lose the bunker completely. Maybe bring this bunker and this one together and kind of, I don't know. No. I'd probably, the way these three are placed together is a little bit awkward. I'd play around with maybe merging these two somehow as like a diagonal hazard, forcing you this way. Or maybe doing the opposite and forcing you that way. But But I like that I'm kind of thinking, well, will I go through with a 2-wood? Maybe. Yeah, I was a bit worried about that. Driver, you got your distances about right with that one. Pretty much spot on actually, because a 1-iron I'm worried about pushing it and then landing in that bunker. 2-wood I'm here, but I'm worried with that wind about running through. Driver, I think this is a great options hole. I'd say that's probably the best designed tee shot you've got so far, in terms of the kind of the way your hazards work together. Whether by luck or by judgment. But yeah, bottle that sort of thinking up and just go with it. Okay, a little break by the hole, turn in, turn in, turn in. There we go. And again, I think when you've got those hazards working in combination, I've really liked that I've been able to think through my shots. Okay, I'm going to now that we've played the final par 3, let's have a little look at the scorecard, because I think par 3s wise we've missed a little opportunity. We've got one at 183, 233, 203, 145. I'd have probably liked to have seen one of. I think you've got a lot of long ones, particularly as this. It's partly to do with this pin set I'm on. This one played at 200. This one played at 250 odd. Is the pin back on this one as well? Yeah, it is. I'd have liked to have seen one of them playing in kind of like the 160 range. I think that would have helped your variety a little bit more. But, I mean, the par 3s have all been good. This is a tough pin. And with that wind. Oof. Okay. I'll try to... You know what, that's an okay miss. I think that slope maybe gets a little bit severe. And the runoff down here I'm not sold on. Generally I think the greens have been good though. Really enjoyed them. They've been about at the level I would want. There's been a couple of big slopes that have really made me think. Sit. Damn. But near the hole there's been kind of subtle breaks but not crazy, so that yeah, this sort of putt's been, you've judged this perfectly. In that I feel like I've got a good chance of making most of them. Didn't quite get that one. They're not like crazy sloping right to left or what have you, but there's enough in there to make me think, and that's a tricky tightrope to walk. Okay, and we have an easy, supposedly par 4 coming home. 350 yards. I wonder whether you made this one drivable. Yeah, I mean, same as we said with the cliffside. Lose this bunker, make it water. Lose this bunker, make it water. You're kind of giving people a bit of a bailout that they don't need. And yeah, this is drivable, and I'd have probably liked to have seen your drivable par 4s play in different directions, so that both times, unfortunately, I'll have to play this with a different wind direction second time round. But unfortunately, both times I haven't been able to drive them just because the wind's been dead in my face. But I think you've got the water all around it. Let's make that the hazard. Let's bring that right in. Ooh, tough pin. I think part of the reason it's a tough pin is because of this bunker. Because actually, the reason this slope is here is not really because you want it to be here, I don't think. It's because you bumped the back of this bunker up to try to get it working. But you can't bring the front of the bunker down because it would go into water. So I think that's one where, when that sort of stuff happens and you're finding you're really having to fight the land, do something different. Come on, wind, bring me in. It's not bad. And I do like the planting that's there. I think maybe the bright flowers that haven't been rotated, I think they're a little bit harsh. In terms of, they just kind of grab your eye as they're all, you see how they're exactly the same rotation. Ideally spin and click. I think this is just a dead straight putt, isn't it? Yeah. And we finish with a birdie. So yeah, that's I really enjoyed that course. I'm just going to flip to what our kind of rubric is. I won't kind of tell you scores as I go through because I'll play another round before doing it. Playability and shot values. How many times did I feel I was hitting the same shots? I think the length of holes was good. I enjoyed it. I thought the greens were generally really well done. That helped. I thought at times you were a bit harsh on punishing tee shots. I think I'd look at how much you punish a tee shot versus the length of hole, and using your big hazards a little bit more, like that ravine. Can you push me really close to it to get the perfect line into the pin? Stuff like that. Yeah, nothing really standing out on that one. I wouldn't say to mention. Technical execution, the sculpting would be the one, and the bunker work. I think those will just come with practice. It's clear that you've got a good idea of how to make a course and kind of create variety within that. So I think you'll get there on those. What else do we have? Aesthetics and environment. I found it was a little bit bare. Whilst I really enjoyed the course, I'd have liked to have been wowed by the visuals a little bit more. And I get that. That's the look that you're going for. I think it's just tough to pull off a barren looking game. It really is. Routing flow, cohesion, variety of holes. The one thing I'd really pick up on is those pins being constantly at the back for some of the longer holes. I'd have maybe swapped these two both playing quite short, with the next two par 4s playing a bit longer. Maybe swap one of those. This stretch was pretty long. But then I'm all for having a scoring stretch and a stretch where you just have to hold on. That's fine. It doesn't need to be easy, hard, easy, hard, easy, hard. Please don't go down that route, but just have in your mind this sort of stretch and think, is that something I really want? If you're for it, great, go with it. And make sure you balance it. Have the holes around them. I think this one was stroke 1 maybe. Have the holes around them be quite easy. What else might I mention? I liked that you didn't give me as much on the par 5s on the back, which means that I have to make the most of it here. That was all good. We had 2 drivable par 4s, that was nice. Again, the direction change would have been cool. Is there anything else? I don't think so. I mean, I think it's a really solid course, and you'll certainly be someone whose work I'm looking out for in the future, because I think this is a really strong start. There's a few things that we tend to see. Check green sizes, bunker sculpting, kind of the major sculpting and stuff like that. And hopefully this has really helped. But yeah, well done, I really enjoyed that. And best of luck with the contest.